growers seem to struggle with, but total yeast and mold is. And we did say that we were going to talk about some of the factors that your team identified. So let's get into that. And I think one of the major ones that you identified that was in this paper was that the plant genetics themselves play a huge role in the TYM levels. I wonder if you could speak a bit to that. And is it specifically like the physical structure of the plant in the flowers that leads to that, or is there something else going on? Like, does it have something to do with immunity?
Yeah. So that was a bit of a surprise to us as well, and I'm sort of glad we really included like 7 or 8 different types of genetics or genotypes
Right.
in the study. Obviously, we were grabbing whatever we could, whatever was being grown at the time. So it wasn't a planned experiment, but we did find definite differences between the types of cannabis that were being grown. Primarily, it's to do with the morphology and the size of the flower structure. So the larger the flowers, the bigger the mass, if you wish, or volume, the higher the yeast and mold in general. Plants that produce very small buds, smaller buds, many of them, but smaller in size, not as dense, seem to have less of a yeast and mold. So there was definitely this physical correlation. In some cases, I do think there were chemicals produced in the flower that would be inhibiting yeast and mold. I say that because some of these flowers were the yeast and mold was so low that it was almost impossible to explain just from the fact that the flowers were small. I think they were secreting some kind of a chemical product, a natural chemical product that was preventing these yeast and molds from growing. If we knew what those were, boy,
Right.
we'd be off to a really good start from a research perspective. I mean, definitely that's something that needs to be looked at. I don't think it's something like terpenes or some of these other volatiles that we know. It's definitely not THC or CBD, because all of these were producing THC, CBD. It's something else that perhaps isn't on the radar yet, something that other researchers or breeders may want to look at. But certainly flower structure, flower size. And the reason, though, the larger flowers seem to have more yeast and mold is the humidity, the moisture in those flowers is higher by 3 to 4% in terms of relative humidity than the outside air. And their temperature builds up in the flower. It's almost a mini greenhouse sitting on a plant, because it traps the solar radiation and it warms up. The buds warm up 2-3 degrees higher than the environment. So that humidity and moisture, the temperature, creates this little greenhouse that allows these yeasts and molds to build up. So one thing we asked ourselves, well, if you circulate the air, you turn a fan on close to the plants and let this air infiltrate through the flowers, what would happen? And boy, the yeast and molds dropped by 90%.
Oh, wow.
Now, you can't go out and put a fan next to every plant, but certainly you increase your airflow, your air movement, the humidity drops, the temperature drops, and your flowers have way less yeast and mold. And it's not impractical. In some greenhouses, you can set up 8 or 10 fans blowing in a certain direction, and that will really reduce the yeast and mold.
Yeah. And, I imagine growers too would be encouraged to hear you say that there could be something more than just the morphology of the buds that's contributing to it. Because if you think about it, growers want big, dense flowers, and to have that be associated with higher TYM, well, that's not good news at all.
No, certainly. And so if the chemicals are discovered, which they will be eventually, that will be very, very useful, because that's a natural way for the plant to protect itself. Now, plants don't have an immune system, but they do secrete many, many chemicals. And many of these chemicals are known to inhibit the growth of mold and bacteria and so on. And so finding that strain or strains would be very useful.